Hello and welcome back. And that's right, today I want to talk about, frankly, an absolutely adorable little NAS. This is the TerraMaster F4 SSD. It's the third product to enter their F series of SSD focused devices, and in this video I'm going to help you decide whether this thing deserves your data. We do it in the middle of an in-depth review of this device, but several of you have reached out just to know right now, with Prime Day around the corner, is this worth going for right now? And that's what this video is about. I'm going to give you 5 reasons why this is an absolute banger, but I'm also going to give you 5 reasons why you might want to sit on the fence or shop elsewhere. So let's crack on with number 1. This first one probably won't come as a huge surprise to anyone that's looked at TerraMaster products, but this thing is bloody great value, even if you're only looking at the RRP. And by the way, TerraMaster generally go on offer all the time. The F4 SSD knocks out at $399. Now, put that in mind, particularly if you're going to compare against hard drive systems. But if you're going to look at SSD systems, $399, what you're getting for that is a quad-core integrated graphics Intel CPU, the N97, something we'll talk about later on. You get 8 gig of DDR5 memory. You've got a 5 gigabit Ethernet equipped system. You've got 3 10 gig USBs. And you've got support of your own operating system inside if you want to go for TrueNAS or Unraid or OpenMedia Vault or whatever. But you've also got their own OS inside, TOS. A pure turnkey solution with client and mobile tools, Android, iOS, Windows, Mac, all of that for $399. That is really impressive value for such a compact and capable system. But when I say capable, how? Now, I'm going to talk about the operating system in its entirety later on, but at least for now, I want to pull out one particular feature that this has that I think no one gives them enough credit for when they talk about TerraMaster. I talk about it, but you'll be surprised how little I hear it, and that's T-RAID. That is their own flexible RAID system. Have you heard of Synology Hybrid RAID? Have you heard of that ZFS thing, any RAID that they're in early doors with? This allows you to mix and match drives. Now, just like hard drives, when it comes to populating this, your money might be a bit tight on day one, and you might, on this 4-bay NAS, populate it with 2 SSDs, maybe a couple of terabytes each. You saw them on offer during Black Friday, wham, basket, bang, NAS. Now, a few years later on, you might want to scale up that storage, and the price of SSDs may have dropped. They have in recent years, by the way. Right now, you can pick up a 4TB SSD for $199 pretty easily. And even though it is of course more expensive than hard drives, it's no longer 3 to 5 times the price. Now a 4TB hard drive is about $99 and a 4TB high performance SSD is $199. Yes, it's double, but the margins are getting thinner. And later on, years from now, you might be able to pick up a 4 and 8 TB drive for a decent little bargain. However, with non-flexible RAID storage systems, you would be locked in to the smallest capacity drive. So if you've got 4 bays in there and you stuck 2 8s inside, and these other 2 are 1 TB, they're only going to see them as 1 TB in a normal RAID configuration, and you're either going to have to create a separate pool to maximize that performance and storage, or you're going to have to suck it up and either buy 2 new 8s or live with the lack of capacity. And T-RAID's flexible RAID system means you can take advantage of the larger capacity. It only creates enough parity for one of the largest drives. So yes, you're going to have 8 TB of redundancy there, but you're still going to be able to take advantage of the other 8 TB. So rather than 2 8s and 2 1s resulting in 3 terabytes of storage, it's actually going to allow you to have 10 terabytes of storage in that configuration. Next up, hot damn, the design. I love the design of this. It's not just that it's small and compact, but it's the way they've built around it. We talked about this on the F8 SSD review, but there is one screw holding this together. One, and it's a thumb screw. It is toolless. And then from there, you remove the casing. You've got the 2 base fans, and it's raised from the ground, by the way, a decent little height as well. But those 2 rear fans are drawing air not only over the SSDs, I'll explain later on why there's only 2 of them, and there's tons of space there for your heatsinks, I might add, at the traditional angle, by the way, where the lines of the heatsink are going to be in complete alignment, by the way, with those fans. But on the other side, the CPU is absolutely covered in an enormous heatsink there. Again, drawing air directly over those fans. That is a lovely bit of design and still leaves buckets of room for our memory module as well. And despite its small scale, there is absolutely tons of airflow space there, all the way around the device and through the device. In terms of design, I gotta love it. Next up, let's talk about that CPU, the N97. That's an Intel CPU, a 4-core, 4-thread processor that has a 0.8 GHz base frequency that can be burst up to 3.4 when needed. It also has 1.2 GHz of graphical burst frequency as well, so things like Plex for virtual machine deployment. And although it's not exactly a CPU that's going to blow your face off, I will say that that CPU has a 15-watt TDP. Once you factor in 4 M.2 NVMe's, this thing is not going to be costing you much in the Lecky bill. We'll go into more detail on the review when we do our power and heat testing. But I'll say right now, if you're thinking about a bespoke, compact virtual machine server or numerous Dockers, or taking advantage of the Plex Media server, and we've done a whole dedicated video on the Intel N97's performance in Plex, this is a great little processor, not only for that price point, but for this scale. This next point I know is going to draw criticism, maybe it's all even going to draw contention, but I'll say right now, the software on this, TOS 6, is better than it's ever been. In other videos when I've talked about TerraMaster's software in recent years, I've always talked about it being inconsistent, but I will say right now, at the midpoint of 2025, it is more consistent than it's ever been. It's still not as smooth as Synology's DSM, but I will say they have really improved a lot of the design. I'm still not in love with the top mounted taskbar there, but they have got comprehensive centralized backup applications now, AI photo recognition. Jellyfin is pre-installed, by the way, even though they have their own multimedia server application and standard UPnP DLNA application. They've got their own surveillance application in beta. They've got a virtual machine and Docker application all built in there. Browser-based file folder management there, an iSCSI application as well. It's all in there now, and because this system's running on that great little processor and running off SSDs, it means that software has run better on this than I've ever seen it. But what would the world be if everything was perfect? It'd be proper dull, wouldn't it? Let's talk about the 5 reasons why you might want to give this a miss or look for something else. I know when I said this earlier, it definitely would have made you think the same thing as me. Why is there only one NIC? And a 5 gig NIC at that. Now, I'll touch on this more later on, but the other 2 products in this product series are both 10 GBE, and a lot of that is thanks to the scaling of the system. But I'll say right now, 5 GBE on this, there are going to be users that would have preferred 2 times 2.5 gig. Now, why is that? Because then there'd be failover. Right now, all your eggs are in one basket here with that single 5 gig connection there. Now, you can take advantage of these 10 gig USBs and attach a very affordable $30 2.5 or even 5 gig adapter into those. But we're only going to judge this out of the box. And I'll say right now, 5 GBE is good, and it's better than having a single 2.5 gig or a single gigabit Ethernet. But I will say, it is worth keeping in mind that not having a failover and that there are 10 gig options in their portfolio is something to think about. If someone else hasn't already put this in the comments, I'm sure you're already thinking about it. And that is that right now, compact SSD NAS devices, it's actually becoming quite a crowded marketplace. And if you're not interested in the turnkey nature of this, you're not looking to have the operating system included with it, and you were going to go third party anyway, it's worth remembering that right now, for between $200 to $250, there are 4 and 6 bay M.2 NVMe systems in the market worth your consideration. Now, again, you're going to have to supply your own software, you're going to have to set them up, you're going to have to get your own OS drive, and all of that all sorted in as well, so these costs will mount up. But keep in mind that if you were never going to use the OS and you've already written off the OS in your head, it might be worth looking at other options. But right now, for a turnkey 4-bay NAS solution, this is the only gig in town. Do you remember earlier when I said I will tell you why I've only got 2 SSDs inside this system? Well, the reason is that I'm halfway, about 60-70% through my review of this device, and one of the things I'm testing is the impact of how the different M.2 speeds inside this play out in terms of RAID. What do I mean by that? Well, 2 of these are Gen 3 times 2, and 2 of these are Gen 3 times 1. Now, a lot of M.2 systems in the market, some of which I've already referred to in the previous point, would have all of these at Gen 1 speed. So at the very least, having that Gen 2 is going to give us more. In real terms, that gives us 20 gigabit on these two slots and 10 gigabit on these two here. So again, realistically, 850 to 900 on these and around 1.5 to 1.6 gigabytes per second, I hate seagulls, on these two. Why is that a problem then if we've got this extra speed? Well, you might be RAIDing all of these together, and therefore there is the potential that these are going to be throttled down by these. Now, if you were going to create separate pools, it's not a problem, is it? But just keep in mind that although you do have faster speeds on those two, because clearly TerraMaster, just like the 5GBE, have been trying to maximize all of the bandwidth afforded by the 9 lanes of that CPU, keep in mind that spreading a RAID across these has the potential to result in a few bottlenecks down to that 10 gigabit or 1 gigabyte performance speed. Now, earlier on, do you remember I said when $399 was good value? I stand by that, but I will say that TerraMaster have kind of created their own hurdle because they've released this after this, the F8 SSD. This is the bigger brother, and it is $200 more. So straight away, you're like, $200 is a lot of money. That's a whole 4 TB SSD, Robbie. Hear me out. This has got 8 M.2 slots inside. They're all Gen 3 times 1, but there's 8 of them, double the storage potential. But also, it has 10 gigabit Ethernet there on the rear, so it's double the bandwidth. It's still only a single port, but that means for $200 more, you've got double the storage and double the bandwidth. And if you just, you were planning to buy a bunch of 4 TBs anyway, for one less 4 TB SSD inside, you can now go ahead and upgrade everything. So keep in mind that as good as I think this is, that the F8 SSD gives you more. And if you spend even more, around $350 more than this, effectively doubling the price, you can get an i5 powered version that has more memory, has better speed M.2s inside, and is ultimately even beefier with the F8 SSD Plus. This next point, I personally am not that bothered by, but I know some people are. So just in case you weren't aware, I'm sticking it here at the end as an FYI. This system does not have ECC memory. At this price, this CPU profile, it was never going to have it. But there are users out there that will never look at a system that runs on SSDs and high performance external bandwidth without ECC in place. Now, there's going to be some of you going, it does have ECC, it's got DDR5, which is on die ECC. I've made a whole video about this. That is not the same thing. It's about protecting data in the memory and through the memory. It's 2 different concepts, and although they do similar things, it is true ECC when you have that level of protection. On die is still on chip, so keep that in mind. But ultimately, if you were thinking about ECC or you're concerned about data integrity and you're going to be running high performance business transfers, I would maybe look at an ECC system. But there you go. This has been a brief before you buy about the TerraMaster F4 SSD. The full review will hopefully be around in the next week or 2, so stay tuned for that. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. If you have found this video helpful and you were going to shop at any of the stores linked in the description below, please use those links. It helps us out tremendously as we get a small commission to keep doing what we do. It's just me and Eddie here doing all of this, and it really helps us out. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.